They are watching everything you do, every movement, every digital interaction, every transaction, every signal your life produces is quietly collected, processed, and analyzed. Not by people, but by systems. Artificial intelligence systems designed to recognize patterns humans cannot see and predict outcomes long before they occur. In October of 2025, China quietly flipped a switch. There was no global announcement, no emergency headlines, no visible disruption. But in that moment, 4 billion people became participants in the largest artificial intelligence deployment in human history, and most of the world never noticed. This was not a sudden experiment. It was the final activation of a plan that had been unfolding for more than a decade. A plan to integrate data, automation, infrastructure, and intelligence into a single national system. China did not describe this as control. It described it as modernization. And now, the results are impossible to ignore. A different strategy for the future. While many countries debated ethical frameworks and regulatory limits, China focused on scale and coordination. Instead of asking whether artificial intelligence should be deployed everywhere, it asked how quickly it could be deployed everywhere at once. Instead of isolated innovation, China built interconnected systems. Factories linked directly to logistics hubs. Logistics hubs connected to ports. Ports integrated with transportation networks. Transportation connected to energy grids and data centers. Every layer reinforced the next. This was not innovation designed for convenience. It was an innovation designed for efficiency, resilience, and long-term advantage. By the mid-2020s, the foundation was in place. The robot revolution. The transformation first became visible in factories. In 2023 alone, China deployed more than 290,000 industrial robots. That single year represented nearly half of all industrial robot installations worldwide. But the real story was not the number. It was the speed. Entire factory floors were redesigned around automation. Robots replaced repetitive labor, operated continuously, and maintained consistent precision. Costs dropped. Output increased. Production timelines shortened. Unlike earlier automation waves, these machines were adaptive. Artificial intelligence allowed them to identify defects, optimize workflows, and coordinate with other machines in real time. Companies like UB Tech and Unitree moved beyond robotic arms into humanoid platforms. Machines capable of walking, balancing, gripping objects, and navigating human environments. Not because humanoid robots are efficient today, but because most infrastructure was built for humans. The robot that fits the world does not require the world to change. China understood this early. By the late 2020s, humanoid systems began appearing in controlled environments such as warehouses, hospitals, logistics centers, and hazardous industrial zones. They were not replacing humans entirely. They were multiplying productivity. China committed more than $15 billion directly to robotics research and development, not including provincial incentives and military-adjacent funding. Meanwhile, other nations struggled with regulation, labor resistance, and fragmented investment. The gap widened quietly. Robots in daily life. Once robots proved reliable in structured environments, expansion followed. Service robots appeared in hotels and airports. Hospitals deployed robotic assistants for logistics and sanitation. Warehouses transitioned toward near-total automation. Then came residential assistants. Robots designed to help with household tasks, basic meal preparation, mobility support for the elderly, and security monitoring. These systems were not marketed as replacements for caregivers. They were presented as solutions to demographic pressure. China's aging population made automation a necessity rather than a luxury. By the time many countries began debating ethical limits for humanoid robots, China already had millions of robotic units operating in controlled roles. Not perfect, not autonomous in the human sense, but improving continuously. Smart cities as operating systems. If robots became the muscles, smart cities became the nervous system. China did not simply add intelligence to old cities, it built new ones from the ground up. Xiong'an became the blueprint. Designed as a long-term administrative and economic hub, it was engineered to function as a living system. Streets, buildings, utilities, and public spaces were embedded with sensors from day one. More than 500,000 sensors monitor traffic flow, structural health, air quality, energy usage, water systems, and waste management. Artificial intelligence processes this data continuously, adjusting systems in real time. Traffic signals adapt dynamically to congestion. Public transportation routes shift based on demand. Energy grids balance loads automatically. When environmental thresholds are crossed, mitigation systems activate elsewhere in the city. This is not governance by reaction, it is governance by prediction. Xiong'an was never intended to be unique. It was a prototype. By the 2030s, China plans to replicate this model across dozens of cities, each customized but interconnected. Urban life became measurable. Measurable systems became optimizable. Optimized systems became efficient. Efficiency became power. Living inside the system. For residents, the experience feels subtle. Commutes become shorter. Infrastructure failures decline. Public services become faster and more reliable. Life feels smoother. Beneath the convenience is something new. A city that remembers. Every movement contributes to planning models. Every decision influences future design. This is not surveillance in the cinematic sense. It is environmental intelligence. China does not describe it as control. It describes it as harmony. For millions of residents, it works. Autonomous transportation. Transportation followed the same philosophy. Instead of focusing on individual vehicle autonomy, China prioritized coordinated mobility. Vehicles are not meant to think alone. They are meant to think together. Electric vehicles equipped with advanced autonomous systems began operating across major cities. Cars communicate with infrastructure. Infrastructure communicates with traffic management AI. Traffic systems coordinate entire urban flow. Congestion is not eliminated, but it is managed. China became the world's largest electric vehicle producer. More than 6 million electric cars were manufactured in a single year. Battery production scaled rapidly. Costs dropped. Driving ranges increased. Autonomous ride-sharing fleets began replacing private ownership in dense urban centers. Transportation became a service rather than a possession. A different view of automation. In many Western countries, automation is framed as a threat to employment. In China, it is framed as national resilience. Jobs are not eliminated outright. They are restructured. Workers transition into system oversight, maintenance, and optimization roles. The shift is not painless, but it is coordinated. Coordination remains the defining principle. Redefining distance. High-speed rail reshaped China's geography. Magnetic levitation systems pushed speeds even further. Travel times between megacities collapsed. Next-generation transport systems are now under development. Vacuum-assisted prototypes aim to reduce travel time even more under controlled conditions. This is not speculative infrastructure. It is infrastructure designed for competitiveness. Ports connect directly to factories. Factories connect to cities. Cities connect to global markets. Every reduction in friction compounds economic advantage. The AI core. None of this functions without artificial intelligence. At the center is computation. After access to foreign chips became uncertain, China invested heavily in domestic AI hardware. Processors like Huawei's Ascend series were designed for scale, efficiency, and independence. Data centers expanded rapidly. Baidu's Apollo platform integrated autonomous driving across hundreds of cities. Healthcare AI assisted diagnostics and hospital logistics. Agricultural AI optimized irrigation and yield prediction. Manufacturing AI balanced supply chains dynamically. China now files more AI-related patents than any other nation. Artificial intelligence is no longer a product, it is infrastructure. The military dimension. While civilian systems expanded, artificial intelligence quietly integrated into defense infrastructure. Not autonomous weapons, but autonomous support systems. Logistics became predictive. Maintenance schedules optimized themselves. Training simulations adapted in real time. The objective was not spectacle, it was readiness. Future conflicts would be influenced long before visible action began. By data, by logistics, by prediction. Artificial intelligence became the silent force multiplier. Data sovereignty and digital borders. China treats data as a strategic resource. Information generated domestically remains domestic. Data serves national systems. This enables optimization at unprecedented scale. Traffic systems learn from millions of commutes. Healthcare AI trains on vast population datasets. Manufacturing systems refine processes continuously. Each year, systems improve, predictions sharpen, efficiency increases, data sovereignty becomes power sovereignty, exporting the system. China does not export technology alone. It exports systems, electric vehicle platforms to Europe, smart grid infrastructure to Asia, urban management systems to developing cities. These are not sold as ideology. They are sold as solutions, affordable, scalable, integrated. With each deployment abroad, Chinese standards become defaults. Influence spreads quietly, embedded in infrastructure rather than treaties. The Western response. Western nations respond, but slowly. Debates form, regulations follow, committees delay execution. Innovation moves faster than policy. Private companies lead development while governments struggle to coordinate national strategies. The gap is not technological, it is organizational. The ethical divide. The divide is philosophical. Western systems prioritize individual privacy. Chinese systems prioritize collective optimization. Both approaches have trade-offs. The most efficient systems are not always the most transparent. The most ethical systems are not always the most competitive. By the late 2020s, the tension becomes unavoidable. Why 2030 matters. The year 2030 is not symbolic. It is structural. By then, China expects its artificial intelligence ecosystem to reach maturity. Not perfection, but self-reinforcing stability. At that point, catching up becomes exponentially harder. This is not about one breakthrough. It is about accumulated advantage. Final reflection. China did not win a race. It changed the track. By embedding artificial intelligence into every layer of society, it redefined what technological leadership looks like. Robots that learn, cities that adapt, infrastructure that predicts. This is not a forecast. It is already happening. If this documentary changed how you see the future, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to Hypertech AI for long-form analysis on artificial intelligence, geopolitics, and emerging technology. Turn on notifications so you do not miss our next video. The future is not waiting. It is being built right now.